Ghana TV so na weni egusu a wohwe wo number 1 channel and news ekoso enye de epa ebo man ni yekọ na yekohwehwe na yaso ne se papa ne ye de agwam na mohu na wate nsem a yekoso eni de epa ebo man ni na emom nsem no bi ho na se ebetodwa a mu edu e de man ayemu edu pa se yan ye betena ha na aka e de amamnti man bekọ agotie sa nsem no mu entwemu ye ba ase bi eka ho a ye be ka ho e de ama yadofo.
The Supreme Court earlier today in relation to the attempt to halt the ongoing processes seeking to remove the Chief Justice, Justice Ģeourt Tokono, and that's coming up next. We have the rundown and including some new information regarding a poll that was commissioned by Global Info Analytics in this particular issue. We'll get into it shortly here on Hot Edition on 3FM. Also, earlier on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7, I spoke to some legal practitioners who have been sharing their thoughts on this. We'll get into it. But this is it. Earlier today in court, there was another adjournment. You recall, this is the second adjournment of this particular case, seeking to halt the petitions against the Chief Justice, essentially from being forwarded by the President to the Council of State. The Attorney General, Dr. Dominic Ayine, spoke to the media after the hearing today, which led to the adjournment because one of the 5 justices of the Apex Court was not present in court today. 4 out of 5 were present, and as a result, that led to the second adjournment. And Godfrey ୟାaddest, who is the immediate past Attorney General, counsel for the Otafoɔ Member of Parliament, Vincent Tasefoa, also did ask questions about this entire process and why it is even proceeding while this matter is in court. Let's take a listen to Godfrey ୟାaddest first on why he raises questions about this entire process. Take a look.
There's an application for the local injunction pending, so why would anybody proceed? I'll find it quite interesting by board and the height of the discussion rule of law in the proceeding in that matter.
So as far as you are concerned, you expect the President to halt the Constitution of the Council of State while this is pending?
It's not my expectation. It's the expectation of the law. The law expects that such regard for due process be observed. And so it will be actually a confirmation of the disregard for rule of law. And I think that you should see the affidavit filed by the Attorney General.
I mean, there are those who have made reference to the fact that in that affidavit, he makes the point that there's no law that requires a fair hearing to be given to the Chief Justice. And there are some who are also saying that even under the previous government, the President gave a hearing after he had referred the matter to the Council of State already.
I would say that the Lord has a fine way of exposing the hearts and desires of men. The Lord has an interesting way of exposing the hearts and true desires of men. And indeed, it's been evidence in the affidavit filed by the Attorney General. They did not intend to accord any right of hearing to the Chief Justice until the matter was filed. They indicated it in the affidavit. So it's quite clear. I'll leave it at that. The merit determined by the court will argue in court. Thank you.
On the part of the Attorney General, Dr. Dominic Ayine, he says the President is only fulfilling his constitutional duty as enshrined in Article 146 of the 1992 Constitution. And this was his response to Godfrey ୟାaddest's questions and the concerns that he raised. Take a look.
The injunction application. No, it's not. The decision whether or not to hear the case is not mine to make. All right. And the reason why we were absent at the last agenda date was because we organized a training far ahead of the date that was given to us by the court. And the training was for all state attorneys, all right, by the ECOWAS Court of Justice. So they were being trained on the procedures and rules of the ECOWAS Court of Justice. And because of that, I was deeply involved in the training. My deputy was deeply involved in the training. The ECOWAS delegation that was doing the training was here in Accra. And we just asked for a date. Lawyers ask for this all the time when they are constrained and cannot be available in court. So for you to interpret that to mean that we are not willing, to go along with this process is totally unacceptable.
Thank you.
That's Dr. Dominic Ayine there. But after the court hearing and the decision to adjourn this case again for the second time today, the minority in Parliament, they addressed an emergency press conference earlier today, raising concerns over what they term as attempts to suspend and subsequently remove the Chief Justice Justice Ģeourt Tokono from office as the Chief Justice of the Republic of Ghana over the 3 petitions they term as, quote, frivolous. Now, the caucus called on the president to desist from executing the planned actions to uphold the independence and integrity of the judiciary. Now, the fundamental question was asked as to whether the minority had knowledge of the details of these 3 petitions, because per the law is supposed to be secret and not public for us to know. But addressing the press today, the minority gave some detail that they suggested were the details of the said 3 petitions against the Chief Justice. Take a look.
We are told that a gentleman who committed contempt.
And for any etiofo and some I so any day about our money and I was so a good with you, measure upon say, with you not drink, I was over for answer in some knowledge of fair Eddie Mammy, our comment section, or young pen, you could see near to us.
In Fashion Courier and was thus accordingly punished by the courts once the CJ removed, because he has been punished by the court, not the CJ. One of the last allegations we've heard, which is ridiculous, is the fact that the CJ has misappropriated some 75,000 Ghana cedis. An accusation which from the Judicial Service has been dealt with by the Auditor General's outfit. Justice Tokono's distraction should not be the grounds for your rising to the office of Chief Justice. To you, that judge, remember that you can rise together, but if you ride on the distraction of somebody to rise, remember that posterity will not be kind to you. To our development partners and foreign missions in the country, this is the time our country needs the most. The destruction of our judiciary will begin the end of our country's democratic experiment. Never in the history of this country, since Osaje Foot of Kwame Nkrumah, in the Ōtri case cited above, have we seen such naked attempt to subjugate the judiciary. To our revered traditional leaders and religious leaders, the time to call the president to advise him is now. The time to pray for our country's peace is now. We shouldn't wait until it's too late. And most importantly, to you, the people of Ghana, you are the fountains from which justice flows. You see that from Article 125 of our Constitution. It says that justice emanates from the people and shall be administered in the name of the Republic by the judiciary, which shall be independent and subject only to the Constitution.
So that's the Member of Parliament for the Swame constituency, the Honourable John Darko, is the legal counsel for the minority in this 9th Parliament, addressing the media there. Now, so the details he gave is what they refer to as the knowledge they have of some of the concerns or the allegations against the Chief Justice, and a reason why these petitions are there to have her removed. But then again, they make certain calls to specific institutions and individuals. They were not alone in this. After the NPP's National Council meeting today, which was primarily to receive the details of the said report by the fact-finding committee led by Professor Aaron Michael Quay, the minority leader, Alexander Panyomakin, also spoke to the press about 2 things. First, about Boko, and then ended on the call to the president regarding these petitions against the Chief Justice. This is what Alexander Panyomakin said.
We are also urging upon government to do all it can to ensure the peace in Boko. The situation is getting out of hand, and they inherited a peaceful country. They must keep it peaceful. What is happening in Boko, where security personnel don't feel safe, is not the best for our country. Second, we are also concerned about the persecution and the harassment of political opponents, particularly our party members and former appointees. MPs are now being harassed by expressing their views on governance issues. We urge government to demonstrate tolerance. After all, when they were in opposition, they were at liberty to raise a number of issues. The recent event at the residence of Reverend Ntim Fojo leaves so much to be desired. Very unfortunate. In any event, they could have used due process of law to, invite him. And then the final point, government must focus on issues of governance, creating jobs, and helping better the lives of the people. We are still aware that a lot more are being dismissed from various state institutions that are even very independent and are limited liability companies, and whose budgets do not rely on government budgets. We are also concerned about an attempt by certain individuals in government to push for the removal of the Chief Justice. The judiciary should not be seen.
And for any etiofo and some I so any day eba or my and I was so egusu with you, Mestre Pan say, with you not drink, I was over for answer in some knowledge of fair Eddie Mammy, our comment section for young pen, you go to near to us.
As part of the partisan political system in our country. All we need is to have an impartial judiciary to dispense justice. What is happening is unacceptable, and it's clear that the NDC government wants to infiltrate the judiciary and make it partisan. But my advice to all judges in the country, stand together. Let not somebody create an impression of one of you and think that by dislodging one of you, you will be the next. The next day, you would also be the next. The judiciary must stand as one body and make a full statement to condemn this act. The Ghana Bar Association must also stand for the judiciary. Civil society organizations must stand for the judiciary. Yes. All these flimsy, pedestrian excuses looking at what is out there, I mean, you wonder whether these are real, grounds for the removal of a Chief Justice. And, well, this is NDC for you.
Well, so that's the Minority Leader Alexander Łahocking addressing the press earlier today, and then you also had the legal counsel for the minority in Parliament, John Dakon, the Swami Member of Parliament, also addressing the media at that emergency minority press conference. Now, what exactly are the fundamental issues? Well, they reference Article 146(10)(a) of the 1992 Constitution. Dennis Poberi Wadameskwa is going to be joining me in a bit. We'll run through what exactly the provision of the Constitution is in that particular article that they reference, reason why they say that they are aware of this decision, an impending decision to suspend the Chief Justice and then eventually remove her. That's according to the minority addressing the press earlier today. Well, there is a latest poll as well that was conducted by Global Info Analytics, and the details of the poll point to a certain direction. Also regarding this subject of the removal of the Chief Justice and the 3 petitions against her. We're going to get into it in a bit, because that also tells a story, and then we'll get into the constitutional provision. Martin People is going to be joining us as well as a private legal practitioner, and Musa Dankwa is Executive Director of Global Info Analytics, is Head of Research, is joining us right now on Zoom. Mr. Dankwa, good evening. Thank you for joining us here on Ghana Tonight.
Thank you very much for having me.
Now, there's a poll that you just released. In fact, it's fresh on the plate. A few minutes ago, we got it here on Ghana Tonight. The details of the poll point to a particular direction. I'm going to hold you on a bit, because we're getting to what the Constitution says, and we'll tie it into the details of the polls. If you can stay on a bit for me. Dennis, what does Article 146 say specifically in relation to the minorities' concerns that they raised in that press conference?
Well, so
Article 14610 makes reference to, it's part of the processes that are used in the removal of a Chief Justice. But what is interesting about Article 14610 is the fact that this is the provision that allows the President to take certain actions in the interim. By so doing, the President has the power, and he has to do so in accordance with the Council of State and by a warrant to suspend a Chief Justice who is going through this particular process. So if you understand the context of Article 14610 and the powers that the President have and the actions that he can take in the interim, you can understand and appreciate why the minority is concerned about this particular provision. But it's instructive to know that before Article 14610 can be triggered, certain things would have to be done, or certain things would have to be in place first. And as we speak, I mean, there's no information in the public to the effect that we have got to that stage yet.
Right.
And just for purposes of clarity,
the minority probably knows something you and I don't know.
Let's look at what exactly 14610 says. That where a petition has been referred to a committee under this article, the President may, A, in the case of the Chief Justice, and this is what we're dealing with, acting in accordance with the advice of the Council of State, by a warrant signed by him, that's the President, suspend the Chief Justice.
Right.
So this is a provision that allows for the suspension of the Chief Justice who is going through this particular process.
So while the process is ongoing...
Now let's establish a few things. It talks about where the petition has been referred to the committee.
Right.
The last public communication we have in respect of this matter was to the effect that the opportunity that the President had given to a Chief Justice to make an input.
For any for some I so any the eba man and I was so egusu with the measure pan say with the adjourns I was over for answer in some knowledge of fair Eddie mammy our comment section for young pen you go near to us
to form parts of the consultation process with the Council of State for the determination or otherwise of a prima facie case was what the Chief Justice has responded to.
Yes.
We are not told whether or not a case has been made out of that consultation.
That's a prima facie case has been made.
It is only after a prima facie case has been made that they move to the next stage of setting up a committee, and then the petition will be referred to that committee. So when you look at the composition of 14610, it says that there has to be a petition which has been referred to the committee. Question, do we even know who the members of the committee are?
And whether a prima facie case has been
made? So if we get to a point where we cross that point of a prima facie case being made, the committee being set up, and then the petition being referred to that committee to begin to inquire into it, then the whole of 10A can begin to come into the picture.
As in the suspension
process can happen.
I see.
But like I did indicate, mind you, all these processes by law are supposed to be in camera. So there are times that some things may be done without necessarily being in the media. But of course, like I said, the public information we have is what we have always put out there. Sometimes we get it from the presidency, sometimes we go to the courts and we're able to get same. But as it stands now, we are not here yet, at least.
Based on the public communication
that we have.
But then, if you consider what the minority is saying, and I was saying earlier, maybe the minority knows something that you and I don't know, because they make reference to details of certain allegations against the Chief Justice, referencing some cases as well. You heard John Ďaocking.
Yes, but...
And as to whether that's the details of the three petitions as well, you and I cannot state.
No, because that is not out in the public, like we indicate. But what is instructive is that even though we may not be able to tell at what stage this is, but when it gets to a point where a Chief Justice is suspended, that cannot be hidden from the public.
We have to know the reason for...
Yes, that will be made public.
Okay.
If we get to that point. But what is instructive is that before we get there, certain things would have to be done, like I explained earlier.
As in, the establishment of a prima facie case.
Yes. But what we do know for a fact is that the consultation process is ongoing between the President and the Council of State, and part of that is the determination of a prima facie case.
And we don't know whether that has been done.
We still don't know, as a matter of public information, whether that has been done.
So
that's after that, the formation of the committee.
Yes, before the suspension.
Before the suspension, if any.
If any.
Yes.
If any, really. And that is also, direct reference to the minority's concerns and fears. Because you hear Alexander Panoma can make that particular point, and then also John Ďaocking as well, talking about what they know. Okay, but there's a poll, Dennis. I know you have the details of that particular poll. We got fresh on the plate from the Global Info Analytics a few minutes ago, giving details of what the public thinks about the petitions against the Chief Justice for her removal. Mr. Dankwa, tell us exactly the methodology you use for this poll. How many people did you sample in this poll?
Good evening, Alfred, for having me. This is a telephone interview that was conducted between 7th April and today, in fact. We interviewed 2,545 voters from all the 16 regions randomly.
2,545?
Yes.
In a telephone poll. And
yes.
What was the question to them?
We asked them if they support the move to remove the Chief Justice from office. And the answers were strongly support, somehow support, strongly opposed, somehow opposed, neutral, and I don't have an opinion.
I see. And what was the outcome?
The outcome is that 52% of Ghanaian voters support the removal of the Chief Justice. And only 20% oppose it. 10% do not have an opinion, and around 18% were neutral.
So that's what we have on the screen there. You said 52% of the 2,545 of this telephone poll respondents support the removal of the Chief Justice. 18% say, well, they don't have a position on it. 20% oppose, and 10% also are in there as well. But is this a nationally representative poll, the 2,545? Is it across all 16 regions?
Yes, across all the 16 regions. And
in all 276 constituencies?
No, this is a national base, so randomly called numbers from the regions. So samples were assigned to each region, and each region's quota were assigned from all the constituencies. So randomly, whatever number that we are able to get in regional quota, we did that.
I see right. I see the regional breakdown that you gave in the poll as well. Western North region appears to be having the highest in terms of.
And for any etiofo and some I so any the eba or mining and I was so a gusu with the measure pan say with the nadjin I was over for answer in some Norwegian fair Eddie mammy our comment section for young pen you go near to us.
Highest in terms of the regional breakdown, 82% of the respondents there. Any reason why?
No, we don't know. These are just random polls. If you look at those regions that are supporting her removal very strongly, you have Western North 82%, Volta region 76%, Savannah 66%, OT 70%, Greater Accra 58%, Central region 51%, Bono is 72%, Bono 82%. So these are the regions with over 50% support for her removal.
I see, and that straight question to them, whether they want her removed or not, is what you posed to them. There were no follow-up questions as with the responses they gave?
No, there was another question which we haven't published full detail yet. We asked them if she is found to have broken the law. For those who said they oppose and neutral or they have no opinion, we asked them a further question, whether if she is found to have broken the law, would they support her removal. That detail will be released tomorrow, God willing. But it is also we're fairly divided for those who didn't support the initial process.
I see, but I see another bar graph that represents their party affiliation. So that's a question you ask them as well, as whether they belong to MPP or NDC. At
the end of the survey, we asked them which party they normally vote for, and the response shows that for those who say they are NPP, 16% support the removal, 46% oppose it. For those who say they are NDC, 83% support the removal, but 3% oppose it. And for those who are floating voters, 46% support and 13% oppose. And those who support other smaller parties, 37% support and 9% oppose. And for those who don't disclose their party affiliation, 34% support and 18% oppose.
Okay, so just for the benefit of our viewers, the color code we use to represent these bars, the red bars you see there represents those who are in support.
Who are opposed, red opposed. in your own chat. Sorry,
yes,
that's fine.
I'm explaining what we did out of your poll.
Okay.
Right, because we had to, as it were, make your poll graphically representative for our screen. Okay, so it's essentially your detail, but then again, redesigning it just for the readership and then also the visibility for our viewers. So what you see there, the red bar represent those who are in support of the question that you asked, whether they support the attempt to remove the Chief Justice. On the part of the MPP supporters or the persons whom you sampled who say they normally vote for the MPP, 16% of them say they support it. And did you follow up to ask them why? Or it was just...
No. This is a close-ended question.
Okay. I see. And 46% oppose. But in the case of the NDC, 83% of the respondents say they support her removal. And did that also cut across some of the regions we know are the stronghold for the NDC?
I mean, yes, it does. If you look at the regions, Western North is 82%, Volta 76%, Kritakra 58%, Oti 70%, Savannah 66%. Now, interestingly, even in the Ashanti region, 37% support, 32% oppose. So majority of by almost 5%. So there are more people in Ashanti region who want to remove as a Chief Justice.
I see. Because then Western North against the Volta region, which is described as the World Bank for the NDC, comes in second. And you say that these samples were evenly distributed?
No, they were distributed based on the voter population of each region.
Okay. So, but obviously there are more voters in the Volta region than the Western North region?
Yes.
So why is it the case that we had the Western North region respondents being the highest in those saying they support?
No, it means that there are a higher proportion of people in the Western North who went to remove than in the Volta region.
In the Volta region. I see. Which is the World Bank of the NDC.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay. But, but then again, that leads us to the next conversation also about the position that, for instance, the minority takes. There are others who also hold the view that maybe this poll was premature because the process is ongoing and it hasn't really progressed as yet because of, for instance, the case in court, and the only communication we have is the Chief Justice responding to the petitions. We don't know what the details of the petitions are as yet. Would you agree with those who say that this was premature?
I disagree, because by law or by the Constitution, the process has started, hasn't it? So we ask the voters whether they support the process and the move to remove her. This does not or should not impact on the judicial process. This is a public opinion. And indeed, if you look at the work we did previously on the IGP, unfortunately, you know, the question came after he has been dismissed. And we didn't want to be found in the same situation as the IGP. So we wanted to see the public opinion, whether in favor or not. And that is without prejudice to the legal process that has been undertaken. This is a public opinion, and it's a public opinion, and it will remain so.
Well, Zanako, I appreciate you for this. And kindly stay with me, because the next issue we're going to talk about in a bit, you've also done a poll in there already regarding the MPP's reorganization. But for her, and I'm very going to be Mr. Fefe, and when some I also need ever on my name, I'm trying to say, we do much, and I don't know at the every show. And now, if we may have a tips.